5 months before we got here. Remember the first time we walked in here?
Yeah. Exactly. Now it's finally
It was in the
happening.
old spot. It was in the old spot.
Yeah.
And now it's finally happening, right? So
I'm cracking the box on this right here. I slept so much today. So.
you catching up with Mykonos?
Yeah, exactly.
As the season goes on, we're gonna decorate a little bit more and more as we go on.
Cell phones off. First episode, first season.
First season, man. Let's go. We're ready.
Let's do
go.
it.
101.
Yep.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, alright? My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Let's flat out.
Welcome to Last Flat Out Podcast. Thank you for joining us on our unfiltered podcast journey where professional aspiration meets global exploration. And we hope that eventually you, our audience, will eventually punch their ticket to their last flat out to that place or destination you've been thinking about for a long time now. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay, 2 born and bred New Yorkers who punched their tickets out to what we believe to be our last flat out towards a life of achieving something greater and in a life that in a version that we wouldn't have been able to imagine otherwise.
Our podcast is simple. Every Thursday, tune in to whoever you're listening to us, you're watching us on YouTube, just tune in. We're going to be talking to you about the real expat experiences. We're going to give you our thoughts, our ideas, our ups, our downs about living abroad and what made us do it and how we're just continuing this journey. We're also going to have a variety of guests on the show that's going to be from all walks of life and that, they're going to have their different paths on making their flight out. So please join us. This is an unscripted podcast where we're just going to give you the raw and the real. We're going to give you the glitz and glamour, but then we're also going to tell you how it is at the bottom in the mud, So please stay tuned, watch us, and thank you for your support. So
Getting it out the mud, man. Getting out the mud. So thank you once again for joining us. Like I said, we eventually hope that everybody here will take something from this podcast so they can punch their ticket to their last flat out and sort of just get to that place where they want to get to. Just take a little bit of risk goes a long way. So Mike, I think before we go and deep dive in any further into the podcast, we have to give the people a little bit of background. So how about you give the audience a little bit of a background when you thought your last flight out and what were your initial reactions when you got off that plane?
Man, initially, first of all, I didn't even know it was going to be my last flight out. I came here in 2015. I've been out here 8 years now, and it's been an interesting journey. I've always loved to travel. If you follow me on social media, I'm everywhere. I've been over 60 plus countries, and I thought it was at that time, what they talk about when you manifest something?
Yeah.
I used to pray for it and wish, I'm going to live abroad.
Really? That's what as a New Yorker, you wanted to get out of the city?
I wanted to live abroad, but the main reason is because, I'm Puerto Rican. So, but I speak Spanglish. So yes. I was like, I'm going to live in a Latin country. I'm going to learn Spanish to the level where I could have a business meeting. Okay. So I thought I was going to be in Colombia, Mexico, Spain.
Of course. Knowing Mike, those were probably his preferred countries to go to. So,
but then the call came to come to Abu Dhabi. And at first I didn't know what it was. I just heard Abu Dhabi on a J. Cole song.
That's it. You had no idea. All. So if somebody pulled out a map and was identify where Abu Dhabi is, would you have been able to point it out at that time?
No. Thank God for Google Maps. Yeah. I'm on the phone with the recruiter. He said Abu Dhabi. I said, Abu what? I straight up Googled it. I saw it was close to Dubai, 30-minute drive. I was like, let me check it out. And one of my only requirements is I have to see it first before I make the decision.
Right.
The recruiter said, trust me, if they like you and they get you out here, you won't say no,
okay.
Which was true. So, came out here, did the interview process, then flew out.
But how'd they fly you out? Would they flew you out?
Economy? They flew me out, business class.
So they were pulling out the red carpet for you. They were trying real hard to recruit you.
And when I tell you, I thought I was going to just come out here as a vacation.
Right.
and all that. And just like, okay, I got 2 days of interviews, 3 days of free time. That's all I thought it was. I was like, it's a free vacation. I'm never going to take it. And once you land out here, you see how beautiful the country is. You see how welcoming everyone is. It's like, man, for the right offer, I could be out here for 1 or 2 years.
1 or 2 years.
You know,
yeah.
that's
Everybody,
always like-
everybody always says 1 or 2 years.
Exactly.
Everybody always says 1
That's
or 2
always the
years.
stipulation. 1 or 2 years, I'm gonna save, stack my money, ain't going nowhere.
yeah.
Then I'm back home. But yeah, it never turns out that way. And let me tell you, on that first business class flight, I did not sleep. When I tell
You
you,
were giddy?
I got the massage chair. I'm leaning back every angle. I ate everything on the menu. I had ice cream and all
3
that.
times.
So-
3
Exactly.
times. I remember the first time I did a business class flight.
Exactly.
I forgot where I was going, and I remember I just had everything like 3 or 4 times, and I was like,
Yeah.
I want to savor this moment, you know,
Yeah.
like so. All right, cool. So, what time of the year did you come? Do you remember? Was it winter? Was it the summer here?
I came August. So it was dead
And you
heat.
still liked
Dead
it out
heat,
here?
Dead heat. Man, it was beautiful. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
aesthetically
yeah.
it was beautiful. And then everybody told me, and then I checked. Wintertime is amazing. And I'm a December baby, you know, Sagittarius.
Yeah, right,
you know,
right.
So,
But what I'm
you know?
saying is the only reason I'm asking is because, you know, as an American or as a New
Yeah.
Yorker, sometimes it's the time we get up.
Yeah.
When you first come out here, summertime is the time that nobody wants to be around. You know, like
Yeah,
that's one of the things that people don't take into account when they come to the Middle East. That summertime is not the time to get turned in the UAE. People always calling me saying, "Oh, I want to come and visit you. I want to come and visit you. I want to come during June, July, and August." I'm like, that's the worst
the
time.
worst time to
That's
come.
the worst time to come
Worst
visit me here in the Middle East. So yeah. So one other question: when was your first when you finally moved? So you accepted your offer. They pulled out the red carpet. What was your first expat experience? Like, wow, okay, I'm a real expat. I'm away from home. Like, when did it hit you that I'm not going back to New York?
Oh, when did it hit me that I'm staying here?
That you're staying here. Like, this is your wow, I made it kind of moment. Like, or the first expat experience that you had where you were like, this is different from back home.
I'm gonna tell you, being raw, being real, being honest. That first year was a roller coaster. You have your moments. I had my moments of I love it here. This is the best. Then you sink down and you're like, man, where's my family? Where's my friends and all that? So trying to get your footing in. It wasn't until I love to challenge myself, and I purposely didn't go back home and I even took my first solo trip for my birthday. I was like, I'm not going back home. I was just there,
Right.
you know? So having that experience, it was great. And then when I finally went home after a year, and I was just home and everything was the same. Everybody was still there, still in the same place. Everyone was stagnant. And I was like,
And that was
yeah,
only a year, right?
it was just a year.
Yeah. So you
You know?
realize,
And
yeah.
I grew so much in a year, you know?
Right.
So in so many ways and ways that I didn't, you know, you kind of lose yourself and then find yourself again and all that, you know? And we talk about, you know, we kind of say like, oh, you know, I'm a grown man. I'm grown now. It's not till you live on your own. You're like, how do I convert my license? How do I get the lights switched on? It's
I
like,
don't think people realize that how different that is.
Yeah.
And just a random question: what space are you in right now? Like what industry is your career in?
Oh, I'm in technology.
Okay, you're in tech.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool, man. That's what's up. Yeah.
What about you? What was that first experience and why did you come out?
I mean, so this is actually my second expat experience. So I had 2. So back in 2017, after I graduated law school, my best friends, I had about one's my brother, my boy Alex. Shout out to Alex. And then 4 other people I went to law school with. They were all in London at the time. You know, when I graduated law school, even going through law school experience, even growing up, I never thought I was gonna leave the city. I'm a New York or nowhere type of dude. I love everything about New York. I'm a Tim's fitted
Knicks
white
fan
tee.
too.
I'm a Knicks fan. So I never thought about leaving New York. It was never in my psyche, never in my plans. I was just gonna grind it out in New York and just, you know, continue my life there. And I remember that, you know, prior to me going to law school, I went to law school part-time and I worked during the day and I had sort of like a little side hustle. I won't get into details of the side hustle, but through that side hustle, I met, you know, several connects. And one of them happened to be the best friend of the managing partner of the firm I was going to, London office. So the managing partner of the London office. Started in 2017, that managing partner was retiring that year and he was finishing his year out in New York. So his office was a few doors down from me. And he sort of said, "Are you so-and-so's friend?" I was like, "Well, I don't know who you are, but you must, you know, just put connecting the dots. You must be this person." So he took me out to lunch and he said, "Send me your resume." I don't know why I already had the job. Why do you need to see my resume? And he said, "Your resume is very bland, very boring. If you want to do something exciting with your life, go to London." I was like, what's in London? I only heard, like Kanye, American Boy, and like, everything's raining, Big Ben,
Ben, the Queen.
the Queen, red telephone booth,
Princess Diana.
Princess Diana. That's all you heard, right? So, long story short, I accepted the offer. And everybody was super supportive of my family. Everybody was like, yo, you should definitely do it. Like, don't look back, don't turn back. You should definitely do it. But I was in a relationship at the time. And that was kind of a little bit of a sticking point. But I kind of just decided there that, look, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I spoke to everybody. Everybody's like, look, if you don't do this, you're going to regret it, right? So I went to London. I got there. And I spent 3.5 years there, some of the best years of my life. I say that's my second college. That's where I grew up because I never got to go away for school.
Okay.
Not even study abroad. I never went out of the state, nothing. Everything was New York, high school, college.
Didn't live in the dorms or anything?
I never lived in the dorms or anything like that. So everything was very New York. And I felt like that was my experience. I feel like the first 2 years there were, like you said, it was such a roller coaster, man. And
wait, so the relationship lasts?
Nah. That once I punched the ticket, it was gone before there. It was done by the time I left London. And I remember my first expat experience. I have two. One's funny and one's serious, a little bit more on the serious side. So I landed to London first day I get there. I get on the 7 a.m. flight, landed to London 7 p.m. Pouring rain. Me and my dad, pouring rain. And
that's the experience. That's the welcoming.
Yeah, that's the basically we got soaked on the way out. So basically my boy's at the Ace Hotel in Shoreditch. He's like, come and meet us there. So we're getting ready, me and my dad, blah, 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 whatever. We take the cab, get into the Ace Hotel. And the dude's like, my dad, I'm thirsty. Obviously I go to the bar, I drink, right? Whatever. And, the bar is pretty packed. It's a really packed bar. And I kind of like moved too quick onto my right. And I kind of bumped the girl and I kind of spilled her own drink on her shirt. So she turns over to me, says a few words to me, which I won't say on camera, family show. And I respond and I say, I'm sorry. And she looks at me and she's like, your accent's so sexy. And I look and I
be my American boy.
Exactly. So I was like, I looked over to my dad. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be just fine here." So I've never had anybody tell me I had a sexy accent in my life. Coming from New York, I sound like everybody else. So nobody
exotic all of a sudden.
Exactly, I'm exotic. So literally, like I'm exotic. I'm one of very few Americans in London, and I thought that Americans travel, but in fact, Americans don't really live a lot of other places.
Yeah,
right?
if you look at the stats, not a lot of Americans even have passports. So.
No, they don't. Right. So it's not in our psyche to sort of get out the country. Right. So that was my first experience. And then my second experience was setting up a bank account. I'm sure you set up bank accounts. Everybody on Honest has set up a bank account. But if you're an expat setting up a bank account in London, it's a 3 or 4 hour process. Wow. I felt like I thought I was getting a $20 million line of credit when I was getting out of there. Yeah. So that was kind of my first experience. And then, fast forward later, came back to the States during the pandemic for a year. I had to get a health concern kind of cleaned up. Everything's good, thank God. And I got another opportunity to say, hey, one of our clients here, the firm I was with at the time, said one of our clients here needs a legal secondee to do a few projects that they're working on. And I spoke to my family. And this time around,
did you know about the UAE?
So I did. So the UAE, I came in 2017. So when I took the bar exam, me and my friends did a bar trip. And at the end of the bar trip, we did Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Came here, thought it was beautiful, magnificent. Everything. Dubai is just basically the Middle East version of Vegas. And then Abu Dhabi is very tranquil, beautiful, serene. Yeah. And I never thought I would be coming back. I was like, oh, it's fun. I'm going to go back. Lo and behold, 4 years later, I'm back in.
It's crazy how the world works.
The world is very small, man. And then my mom, I remember my mom saying, go as far as that plane will take you. I remember her telling me that. And, I had a lot of supportive people in my life and, I did the move, never looked back. And I thought I was only going to be here for 1 or 2 years too, man. They had me perched up in Abu Dhabi, just recently moved out to Dubai. Yeah. And I had not looked back. It's like it's going on all 3 years now. So time has flown back.
It
flies so much.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's interesting because it seems like you had a lot of support. Go.
Yeah.
I had the opposite.
Really?
No, I've had. So I don't even want to say that. Let's take that back.
I was gonna say a lot of people about to be mad at you.
A lot of people told me. I remember when I first said I'm going to Abu Dhabi. People was like, "Yo, you're not gonna go there. You're lying." Like, people didn't believe that I could make that move. You're lying. You're not gonna go. There's no way you're moving out there by yourself. No way.
They were
You know,
projecting.
Yeah, they were projecting.
They're projecting, right?
Yeah,
That's what I've
so-
often felt. People project onto you.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then you have people that had, the stereotypes of you're going to a Muslim country, this and that, and you're American. Are you going to be accepted well out here? Which, the UAE has been a very tolerant country. So in that perspective, it's been a great experience. But yeah, so it's kind of that battle where, everybody's kind of projecting.
Yeah.
And then it kind of plays on your fear. But for myself, I learned it's like, you got to trust your instinct, trust your gut, and just do it. And my biggest thing is like not living with regret and just,
Oh, I know that. Just in the
yeah.
just in the little time that we know each other.
Exactly. It's like,
nah,
I'm gonna try it.
you're gonna put me 6 feet under, man. Like, tell my mom I love her, like. So yeah. So you say you've been here for 8 years now.
Yeah.
So as the resident old head, I'm a youngin in the game. You're Shaq, D Wade. You know what I mean? How have you seen the UAE change from the time that you got here to the time, to the current time, and where do you think it's going, and like what is, because I know you're pretty plugged into the, the trends and to the nightlife, and how has that changed? Because even with the nightlife, you mentioned the other day off camera that the nightlife is kind of like taking a step back compared to where it was, but the events as a whole has really skyrocketed. So how would you speak about that a little bit?
Definitely. I would say when I first came here, Dubai, I feel like it's always been Dubai. It's always been, as the closest thing to the West you're gonna get, as far as nightlife, as far as food and entertainment and things like that. Abu Dhabi has always been traditional, but I think that's slowly changing. I do think, and the beautiful thing is, I think it's more now easier to adapt. If you're coming from the US or any Western culture, it's easier to adapt here. And not saying that they're losing the culture. There's many places that you can go to get the culture here, and get, the original traditions that were here in this country. That's the fabric of this country. So you can get that here. But I think it's beautiful that they're becoming more tolerant to every type of religion here. I believe they have, Hindu temples. They have churches here, Christian churches. The Pope came here. So in that sense, it's there. And then as far as the nightlife is concerned, I think maybe because I'm just getting old, it doesn't move me not as much as, Mykonos or places like that, Yeah. But yeah, but entertainment, we got the NBA coming here. We got all the biggest acts from hip hop to house music, your Black Coffees, your 50 Cents. They're all touching down here.
Even regionally in Saudi, they have the Middle East. Diplo, Tiesto, everybody goes there, right?
Yeah.
So it's huge, right? And
Exactly.
and 50's pretty much got a resident act here. 2 Chainz pretty much here like twice
he's
a
here
year.
all the time.
Right?
Akon lives here.
Yeah, exactly. So they're getting the bag for sure. They're not coming here because, I'm sure it's a great place, but they're also, I think the UAE is making a conscious, especially Abu Dhabi, making a conscious effort to sort of bring that entertainment here because they want to attract the talent. They want to attract Westerners, right? They want to diversify their economy. They want to diversify their population. And kudos to them. They're doing a great job, and the acceleration at the pace that they're growing, just at the pace that everything's just growing, is just incredible.
Yeah.
So
And also, we're 2 guys talking here. I can't wait till we have our first female guest here because a lot of women always ask me, "Oh my gosh, should they respect women out here? Can I grow my career? Is it safe for me out here?" It's extremely. This is the safest country.
Yeah, this is the safest
we
country.
didn't even touch upon that.
Yeah.
We could be at a restaurant, at a bar, at a park. Leave your wallet. Leave these laptops. Go for a drink or something. Go somewhere. Go to get something to eat. Come back 5 hours later. It will still be there.
Yes.
Or if not, they're gonna go out their way to come and find you and return it to you.
No, exactly.
So, and I've also met amazing people here, amazing females here that own their own companies, own businesses. So that's going to be interesting when we get that female perspective on here and all that. So
We're gonna get the female, definitely. I think, and all the matrices, Abu Dhabi, the UAE, if they're not first, they're at least in the top 5 of safest countries for women.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's something that's overlooked in especially with the current state of just the world right now.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's super important, at least for me too. And it makes sense because it's a nighttime culture, just given the heat, right? At night, it's very normal to see families at 1, 2 in the morning just walking outside and the streets being flooded.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that, we talked about all the great things about being here in the UAE. What are some of the things you would have done over?
I would have done over.
Yeah.
Let me see. What I kind of don't like saying I have regrets because that's what makes you who you are.
But this
who
is
I
a
am
learning
today.
experience. You talk about learning
It's a learning
experiences.
experiences. I think probably just myself just grow up faster. I think because I kind of use this experience. I mean, this experience to me it was like a second college experience because I came here. I came here at 30, and it's like everyone here is kind of that 25 to 35,
Yeah.
40 age range, and it's either you come here married, as a couple coming together, come with kids, or you come single.
Super
in that
single.
age range. Yeah,
Super single.
or you come by yourself. You cannot be single, but come by yourself. And it's just, you have more disposable income for those that are fortunate. And it's just everybody just having fun. Because think about it. Most people come here by themselves, no family attachment. So it's not after work, let me see my mother, let me see my father, let me see my grandmother. Let me help my brother out with his kids. It's after work, workout. It's nothing else to do. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
So that was like my second college experience. So I wish I kind of would have, been more mature to handle that experience.
Did you save any money in the first couple of years you were here?
I did. I actually, and this was one of the benefits of working here. I was able to save up relatively quickly, and then I purchased a condo in Austin.
All right, man.
And why Austin? I'm from New York City, but that was one of the decisions in coming here. It was between Austin or Abu Dhabi.
Could you imagine your life like in Austin right now?
Man,
Down on
it
6th
would
Street,
be
you know what I
totally
mean?
different.
You probably would have been running the town by now. You got a little bit of reputation out here in the UAE, man.
I was married when I came here, married, divorced, now I'm single.
We'll get into that in another episode. We'll get into that.
We're gonna have a dating episode.
We're gonna have a dating episode, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. But I would have been a different Mike.
That's for sure. We would have never met.
Yeah, probably.
We would have never met.
So
man, for me, I think the one thing I would have done differently, because when I was in London, I had the benefit of having a core group of friends there. So I never had to make friends with people at work. I never had to make friends outside of that like comfort zone I already had. So London to me was like an expat light experience, as opposed to when I got here, I knew nobody.
Yeah.
I knew people. I knew a couple people from around the way in London. Nobody I would say that was my best friends. I mean, of course they would say, they're my boys or whatever, but they're not somebody I'm hanging out with or talking to every day, right? Yeah. So when I call you my boy, it's sort of like when we're talking every day, right? Like you're someone who I talk to every day. I can find some information in. So when I got here, I realized how that people's friends tend to be their work friends. And coming from New York, that's a totally different experience, right? In New York, you got your work friends who maybe every once in a while you got one who's cool, who you'll hang out with.
Exactly.
1 or 2. But generally speaking, you're not hanging out with your work friends. You see them when you clock in on Friday or whatever day you clock out. You're not seeing them to the next time you clock in. Here, I realized like, wow, like, okay, everyone's hanging out. I go to my first brunch, they invite me, somebody from work. It's everyone from work.
Yeah.
And look, personally, I feel like I'm still working when I'm at work.
Yeah.
Right. I still feel like I'm working when around my work colleagues. Because, I tend to be the only POC or one of the only few POCs. Like I don't want to. I don't want to say certain things that they may not understand. I don't want to have to do the whole explanation. Things of that nature. So I started to decline a lot of those invites to the point where I was totally almost like left to the side. Right. And you can't do that because here, it's sort of like a who knows who kind of situation, right? And I kind of like put myself into a box by doing that. Yeah. And it's not saying that I don't like those people or, wouldn't see myself hanging out with them. But, when you work so hard during the week, I just kept my New York mentality. So that's something I would have done differently, something that I am changing now. Yeah. To sort of like network with different just types of people from different backgrounds, because you can learn something from them and you can also have fun with them too.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, man, it's sort of, that's one of the things I would have changed. And yeah, for the first 2 years when I was in London, I saved no money, just FYI. I went out there and I was like, I'm not saving anything. It was actually just the first year where I was like, I'm blowing everything that I'm making, because from the time I was like 14 all the way through the time I graduated to the time that I went to London, I was playing it by the book. I was like, grinding in the library, working 2 jobs, going to school, not having fun, people like going out, me declining invitations. Man, just put it like this. You say you went to 60 countries by the time you got here. I didn't start doing...
Well, like 30 and then...
like 30 by the time you got here. Let me put it to you like this. I counted my passport stamps the other day, and when you do your global entry, you have to list all your countries. I went to 73. That was a year.
Really?
That was 6 months ago. That was 6 months ago. But put it to you like this: I only traveled, I think, between 2012 and 2016 before I moved to London, to Miami, Los Angeles, and I went to Mexico.
Okay, typical. That's
and DR and stuff like that, right? So that's 4 countries, and Canada, if you want to count that, right, as a country.
Okay.
But I didn't start going balls to the wall traveling till I got to London, because in London you would have these low-cost carriers, like Ryanair and EasyJet. You can literally book flights for like 10, 15 euros anywhere, random. So
weekend,
bro, but like the thing is, I would just book flights even if I couldn't make them.
Really?
Because it was so cheap.
Yeah.
I would book them like a month, 6 months in advance, bro. I would go 24 hours to Italy, 24 hours to Zurich, 24 hours to Czechia, 24 hours to Croatia, because everything's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
The same time it took me to get from my house to where I went to university would be the same amount of time it would take the train ride from London to Paris. So
and the amount of money you're going to spend is probably the same or cheaper.
Exactly.
Depending on the country you go to, because the night out in London is like New York.
Oh yeah, it is.
So
it's
so it's like,
for sure.
All right, stay in London. You're already living there. But it's like, why not just expand? And
I just wanted to see something different. I was like, look, if I'm going to be a part of this experience, and if I'm going to take this risk to be away from my family, to be away from my friends, to be, basically ending a relationship that I was in, I have to make this worth it.
Yeah.
Right. I have to make this worth it. How this is going to be worth it, I had no idea. And I've grown similar to you. The first time I went back, so I left September time, and I came back February time around my dad's birthday. Just in that 5-month span, I saw the growth that I did, and I saw how stagnant everybody else was.
Yeah.
And I remember that one of my family members told me, leave, because now you're going to be able to see everything from a 30-foot, 1,000-foot perspective.
Yeah.
And my clarity for everything got so much clearer, because I was able to see everything from afar. When you're in the actual fire, you don't actually realize what's going on around you. Homies telling you certain things. Your perspective's not expanding.
Yeah.
Your mind's not expanding, because you're around the same people over and over and over again, right? So it's sort of like, I'm not saying that can't happen abroad, but you're less likely for that to happen, because you by nature are going to find someone who's different. At least someone who's a risk taker to be an expat. By definition, if you're an expat, you're ambitious.
Yeah, exactly.
By definition, right? At minimum.
And you're a go-getter.
And you're a go-getter.
You want better than your current situation.
You're going to want better. You're going to want better from your current situation. So, I hope, and look, we're 2 regular dudes from New York, right? And we were able to just like take advantage of opportunities that were thrown in our face. And I like to think that I'm blessed beyond belief. Right, to live the life that I've lived, and to be able to support my family back home when they need, to be able to save the way I do, to be able to travel the way that we travel, to be able to spend the way we spend, and be able to do most of the things that we want to do. I'm not saying I can do everything, right? I'm not going to be unrealistic here. I'm not trying to sell anybody a course. I'm not here trying to be. I'm not a crypto millionaire. We got here. Everything we got is through AML. It could be AML, KYC money.
Exactly.
We're not here no crypto. We're not selling you a course. We're not doing any of that.
Maybe some merch in the future.
There'll be some merch, some merch for sure.
Some fly guys,
some fly dudes, But honestly speaking, like, it's just been an experience, man. And I've gotten away from trying to plan where I'm going to settle down, if that makes sense. Like, if I had it my way, if I had all the money in the world, I'd go back to New York to spend. So if I had all
New York, it's like my New York. It's like, no, we're at
exactly.
Greenwich,
we're in Greenwich in the top, some penthouse. You know what I mean? If I had all the money in the world, I think I would just make my New York my playground, and then from there just fly everywhere, right? But I think part of me doesn't want to go back, is because when you're on that side of the world, it's so hard to travel this way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's so hard to go from that side of the world to this way. Right. And on top of that, life there is just different with PTO. They get less time off.
Exactly.
Right. So think about it. If you have 20 days off, and you got to combine that between your sick leave, your hospital stays, your personal stuff that you got to do. Are you going to go to a place in Asia where you may not have a good time, or are you going to go to Tulum where you guaranteed will have a good time? You're going to go for the guarantee.
You gotta get the guarantee.
You get a guarantee, right?
Yeah.
And for us, I mean, we just went to Baku, right, a few months ago, and I'm not gonna say it was a terrible experience. It wasn't what it was definitely a lot better than what I expected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was just something different.
Something different and escaping the heat.
Escaping the heat. Oh, the heat was so bad here.
Yeah.
Heat was so bad. We didn't get any escape from in Mykonos, but that was different. But think about that. We were able to just be like, we're gonna go to Azerbaijan for the weekend.
Yeah.
What? Like, you know what I mean? If you told yourself that 15 years ago, 10 years ago,
I wouldn't even know where that place was at.
Exactly.
And now we know all these little small countries, and and they're all beautiful in their own way.
yeah, exactly. It's just different.
So,
it's
yeah,
just
exactly,
different, right?
different.
Like that's what I tell people all the time. Why would you go there? And I'm like, 'cause it's different.
Exactly.
It's different. I want to go see different. I want to know for myself whether I like that or not. There's certain places I'll never go back to.
Yeah.
There's certain places too. I'm not gonna name them. I don't want to bash any countries out here or anything like that. But there's certain places I just won't go back to.
Yeah.
I've been there, and there's places I go to Lisbon. I've gone to Lisbon every year for the last 4 years because I love Lisbon.
Yeah.
It's the only place I've been able to do repeat travel, and I don't do repeat travel,
Me neither.
right?
Yes.
But it's the only place I'm able to do it. I don't know why.
Barcelona and Greece, those are my two.
I mean, Mykonos is a hard place not to go to
exactly.
repeat travel. It's hard to go to Scorpios on a Sunday, but like I'm never coming back here, like. But yeah, I mean, just bringing on back on track. I guess. Do you remember what you were telling yourself on the plane? That conversation that you had, the first plane out, that last flight out.
That was emotional, man. That last flight out, because I left everything that I loved there, back home, from family to loved ones to my partner at the time and all that. And it was like, am I doing the right thing? Like I'm bugging. Like I was like, I'm crazy for doing this. Right. And the first awakening, I don't know why on my recruitment trip, I didn't hear the call to prayer, And it's a beautiful sound. But when you hear that from the first time and you're not used to it,
right?
I'm here and then I hear the call of prayer.
At 4 something in the morning, yeah.
No, I heard it in the daytime because I landed. It was the daytime.
Okay.
So I'm walking around. I'm like, and everybody's, and it was a summer. No, it wasn't summertime. But when I was walking, it seemed very eerie. No one was around. I'm like, nah, what's going down? Like I can't understand the language. Right. So I'm like, something's going down. Should I seek shelter or something like that? But then someone told me like, no, it's the call of prayer and all that. And it's interesting because now sometimes I'll go to the mosque, the Grand Mosque. We live like 15 minutes by it, and it's a peaceful place, and it's calming to me now. That call of prayer. But yeah, on that way, I was like, man, I teared up a bit. Then I got happy. So, but it wasn't until a year till I said like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Okay. And then. When you're growing, there's a lot of pain to it, Yeah, but then when you reach that place and you're always constantly pushing yourself to grow, it's like, all right, I'm supposed to be here. And then you still feel comfortable in your own skin and in yourself. Yeah. So I think when I have those moments, I'm like, all right, I got it.
Yeah. I remember, so I had the fortune of having my dad move me to London. So I'll skip that one because that one was different because on the flight I was just talking to him. I didn't really realize I was going to be an expat. It was only until he left. I remember he stayed with me 5 days. He helped me set up. I had my apartment, and it was honestly one of the closest moments I had to my father. Because if you know my dad's a very loving guy, but he's he could be a little cold on the exterior, and that's just because he runs a tight ship. You know what I mean? And I love him for doing that because he actually, because of him, I feel like I'm prepared to do these experiences. Yeah. But I remember that was like one of the, we got to spend one-on-one time together. I saw a different side of him or whatever. And I saw that he actually cared. He's like, nah, I don't want you living here. I was like, I'm almost a 30-year-old man. What do you care about where I live? He's like, nah, I saw the parent out of him come out. But I remember when he left, he closed the door, dapped him up, and he closed the door. And that night, I remember going out, buying some groceries. I came back and I was like, there ain't nobody here, man. I'm here by myself. And I remember that day, I cried on the couch. Yeah, no, I'm serious, man. I called my mom and I was like, man, I'm by myself. Like, this is the first time in my life where that Sunday, I won't be able to just drive 5 minutes to my dad's house to go see him. I won't be able to just call my brother, yo, do you want to go here? Or my cousin, go here. Or my boy, to go here, right? I had to make new friends. And my friends, look, I love my friends, but their life doesn't revolve around me. So they're not going to be available when I'm available. So there may be some weekends, some days where I want to do something, they're not available. Yeah. Family members will tend to maybe go out of their way for you a little bit to make things happen. Your parents are always going to be there for you. Yeah. On the way here to the UAE, I remember on that 13-hour flight, thinking to myself, man, am I making the right decision? I'm going further away than I've ever been permanent in an indefinite time frame.
Totally different from London. Totally different because London is kind of to me like New York.
London is New York. Yeah. London is New York. They're similar. I mean, for anybody looking to move to London or move to, yeah, that region of Western Europe, it's the same. I think from a transitional standpoint, if you're from New York, you're not gonna have a hard time. But the UAE is much different, right?
Yeah.
And I remember having a conversation with myself, like, I don't know where this is gonna lead me, but it's gonna only lead me to the top and wherever I want to go to, right? If I'm taking this risk again, leaving my comfort zone, leaving whatever, leaving another life behind, I need to make this work. C or C, as they say in Dominican Republic, right? And I got to make this work. And I landed, I made it work. 2.5 years later, man, I met you. I have a very small group of friends, which is the way I like to roll. I like to roll small, compact, loyal. I don't need a lot of people. I know people out there, but I don't, people I interact with on a day-to-day basis. And I'm only growing, man. I'm learning the things I don't like, learning the things I do like. I've become incredibly independent, but I've realized how dependent I am to my family. You know what I mean? To that support system. They've got me since day one. Those are my day ones, right?
Yeah.
So, but I've learned to get support from afar.
Yeah.
It's not like sometimes you want that physical touch here. Sometimes you want your mom, like, that home cooked meal. But I've learned to sort of accept it from afar.
Yeah.
And I've just kept running with it. So it's been a journey, man. And it's one I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. There's so many great things going on. To what you said earlier on in the episode, the basketball's coming, right? They're bringing entertainment here. There's restaurants. There's anything you want to do like that. Traveling. This is a transit hub, right? You can go to Europe and you can go to Asia. The only thing is a little far from is New York, but that's something with a little planning in advance. We can do it. So.
We're the place you could say, hey, for the weekend, let's go to Africa. Let's go to Europe.
Exactly.
Let's go to Asia.
You were just in Ethiopia.
Yeah, exactly.
You were just
for
in
the
Ethiopia.
weekend.
So exactly. You came back with a bag of cash you can't change, but you were just in Ethiopia. So it's okay. But I think, man, this is it for the first episode. Thank you everyone once again for joining us. Again, we're so happy that you joined us on what we hope to be a very unfiltered podcast journey. Please subscribe for the LFO boys. Leave any comments that you have, any feedback, things you want to see, things you want to hear, any questions you have on the UAE, London, New York City, if you're visiting New York City. And also please follow our YouTube channel, follow our IG. It's Last Flight Out Podcast. My IG is JLubriel26. Mike's IG is?
If Mike was here.
And please, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Feel exotic, my life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.